What is up, and welcome to another edition of Worth a Watch with me, Anthony Flores. We got a very special guest today. I'm going to be interviewing Nic Cage. He's been on the show before, maybe, but either way, he probably doesn't watch my show. But I shall ask him a few questions. I'm sure he's a very busy actor in Hollywood today in regards to the whole movie, The Croods. So, just going to ask him a couple questions here. Mr. Cage, let's see, according to my notes here. I guess the biggest question is, what is the process you had to go through to get into the role of your caveman character? Yes, it's quite pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to be here. I wanted to answer this question for the longest time. In preparation for the Croods caveman role, I had to play a grug, and I had to learn the caveman stuff, the whole mating call, well, there was no mating call, unfortunately. I went through about 2 weeks of trying to get that fucking thing down, and they just said, "No, Mr. Cage, we don't need a mating call in this script. It doesn't make any sense," and boom, they just knocked it out of the park by pissing me off to no end. I had sex with 20 women from an ad on Craigslist that had fetishes for caveman, and I swear to God, I banged them and just went with my best caveman impression, trying to do the mating calls that are supposed, that have been researched and studied, and then of course I had to bang every girl literally with a mallet or a club or whatever I can find in my apartment, and it just went south very bad. A bunch of lawsuits and everything. Not worth it. It's just not worth anything of what I had to go through. Do you know what I'm saying? I think we're done here. We go on to more family-oriented material, and that is my review of The Croods right now.
He's going the distance. He's going for speed.
I have hardly not a bad thing to say about this movie. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It's a really great family film. But we shall get on to the basics of this movie, and that is the starring people: Nicolas Cage, obviously, Emma Stone, Ryan Reynolds, Catherine Keener, Clark Duke, and Cloris Leachman. This whole little plot is a bit in itself of a cliche, but I definitely do not mind cliches when they are given a fresh enough spin and therefore become an enjoyable movie to watch. In this whole plot of this little movie, a family of cavemen who are just trying to live out their simple life of hunting, gathering, and so forth by day, and just trying to survive by night, living in their cave, because they're cave people. They gotta live in caves. So, until the eldest daughter named Eep, that's right, E-E-P, that, I believe I spelled that right, played by Emma Stone, wants to see more of their world, more of what's out there, instead of just hunting for food and just basically hiding and living life in a very literal sheltered place. Her curiosity, though, leads for her to awake at night, seeing this new thing called light in the middle of the night, and it turns out to be fire. And the person who made the fire is Ryan Reynolds' character, more evolved per se, type caveman, who leads the family to a new part of their world they have never explored before. It is an exploration, an idea of figuring out stuff that is new, while having your family together and enjoying the bumps along the way. So that is a nice little plot and a nice little lesson involved in this movie. So that's definitely a plus, a family movie with a nice family dynamic that is thrown in there as well. So that's a good thing. Again, the cliche itself of just a whole exploration of a new world, this is the first time seeing it that I can remember through an animated caveman family's point of view. And I think that's a really unique step for this. Yeah, sure, there's the Flintstones, I know, I'm not gonna neglect the obvious, but they knew what the fuck was going down in their own world. These characters do not. They are literally isolated in a corner of a desert-like area in the beginning of the film, and then with Ryan Reynolds in tow, they end up exploring and everything else. So, as I said, there's not much negative stuff to this. There's a bit of cliches, such as Ryan Reynolds' character is a dead ringer for the obvious love interest for Emma Stone's character Eep. And moving on to the other family members, Nicolas Cage, man, you gotta love the guy. And it's a little bit weird to see this big, gruff character played by Nic Cage. It's a little off, but you get used to it, and he actually does a nice performance for this character as the dad who doesn't want to let the daughter explore, and the whole family explore for that matter. Catherine Keener is the mother, who is pretty laid back actually. She doesn't have a whole lot to do, but she's a good character. She's the mom, so that's not a bad thing. Clark Duke is the youngest, as the only son. Actually, pretty funny. His deadpan humor. I love Clark Duke, man. This guy is so awesome. Loved him since Sex Drive. The guy is hilarious, and his deadpan humor just works so brilliantly as the young doting son. And last but definitely not least, Cloris Leachman as the other voiced character, as the grandmother of the Croods family, and she doesn't disappoint. If you cannot get Betty White, you get Cloris Leachman. You get some good laughs as her with her character, and the character that basically has a non-speaking role that I fell in love with. For those of you who've seen the film, you'll get this. The character Belt, a little sloth-looking character, puts that other character from Ice Age, Sid, to shame. This guy is the badass. He is named Belt for a reason. He is literally a belt around Ryan Reynolds for the whole movie, basically. But he does so many awesome things. I will not spoil anything for you, but this little guy is awesome. He's adorable, and he's just a badass. He's the breakout character for me personally. I loved every scene he was in. He was awesome. The 3D is actually legit. The colors are beautiful. This movie, wonderfully animated. The creatures are very unique. The family has a wonderful dynamic with each other. Everyone has a personality for the most part, and I love it. Just from the very opening scene proved that they were a family. They work together by the end. They have a few life lessons to learn about letting go, about the situation they were in, learning for change to come into their lives, learning more about the world, and so on and so forth. It's got some pretty valid lessons. It's got some great voice acting, great animation. It's definitely one of the better animated movies in recent years. I don't want to hype it up too much, but that's how I felt. It just felt like an awesome movie, and I can't wait to see this again. A few of those cliches did bother me a bit, but I will say this little movie gets a 9.5 out of 10 as my rating. So, it's a good surprise for the springtime, and definitely a good action family comedy for everybody out there who, especially if you got kids, they will definitely love this movie films. So that is my review. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment below, like and subscribe, and all that other good stuff in between. So until next time, I'm Anthony Flores with Worth a Watch, and keep going in the movies.